In the heart of the African savannah, a large male elephant was peacefully drinking along the banks of a river. The sun was high in the sky, and its heat burned against the thick skin of the animal. The elephant flapped his ears to chase away the flies and sucked up the cool river water with his trunk. All around, the wind gently stroked the tall grass, which swayed softly. It seemed like a calm moment, but something was moving through the bushes. The elephant lifted his head, sensing a change in the air. The wind had stopped, and an unnatural silence wrapped around the savannah. His eyes scanned the horizon, but the danger was hidden in the tall grass. Suddenly, he saw golden shapes appear. It was the lions. 5 in total, including 2 strong young males. They moved in a slow, coordinated circle. The elephant blew hard, stomping the ground with his foot to scare them off. But the lions showed no fear. The lions began to tighten the circle. The elephant turned on himself to avoid leaving any side unguarded. Loud trumpets filled the air, but the pride did not stop. One of the lions lunged forward, scratching his leg. The elephant rose on his hind legs and then crashed down, raising a huge cloud of dust. Another lion tried to bite his trunk, but was struck by a tusk. The elephant was massive, but the lions were relentless. Despite his strength and size, the elephant was beginning to show signs of fatigue. His legs trembled slightly, and his breathing was labored. The lions used every moment to strike. A bite on his thigh made him stumble. He cried out in pain, but didn't give up. He tried to move toward some trees, hoping to find protection. Every step was slower, heavier. The lions followed like shadows, ready to strike again. One of the lions managed to leap onto his back, digging its claws into the thick skin. The elephant screamed and began to shake violently to throw him off. Another tried to bite his tail, but was pushed away by a strike from the trunk. The animal was starting to lose blood, but his determination still burned strong. He had to hold on. He needed help, but in the vastness of the savannah, no one seemed nearby. Only his cries might reach distant ears. The elephant let out a desperate trumpet, a call that echoed through the trees and hills. The sound was heartbreaking, full of pain and fear. The lions, surprised, paused for a moment, but then they resumed the attack. The elephant was injured, tired, and losing strength. Another bite hit his side. He began to lean on one leg. The air filled with the scent of blood, and the pride felt victory was near. With his strength nearly gone, the elephant collapsed on his side. The ground shook beneath his weight. The lions cautiously approached, ready for the final blow. But something changed. A distant sound, different, made them turn their heads. It was the roar of an engine. The elephant opened his eyes with effort. Through the dust, a vehicle was approaching. A fast, determined jeep. Someone was coming. Maybe all was not lost. The jeep came to a sudden stop, kicking up sand. From the door stepped a young woman, Michelle, a brave ranger with long blonde hair. Her eyes immediately fixed on the scene. She saw the elephant on the ground and the lions ready to strike. Without wasting time, she grabbed a flare and lit it. A piercing whistle and a red light cut through the air. The lions, startled, backed away, growling. Michelle ran toward the elephant. Michelle knelt beside the elephant, carefully examining his wounds. The skin was torn in several places, but the animal was still alive. She spoke softly, trying to calm him. The flare kept the lions at a distance. She took her radio and called for backup, giving the coordinates. She gently touched the elephant's trunk. "You're going to be okay, big friend," she whispered. Meanwhile, the lions watched from afar, unsure whether to return. Michelle was trying to stop the bleeding with makeshift rags, but the elephant's wounds were severe. He needed a veterinarian and reinforcements to move him safely. When she heard the sound of jeeps approaching, a sense of relief washed over her. The pride of lions seemed to have moved away, but Michelle still didn't feel safe. She had to act quickly. She looked around, searching for any signs of danger. The savannah was quiet, too quiet. The jeeps arrived at full speed, stopping next to Michelle. Two men jumped out, wearing field suits and carrying medical equipment. Michelle quickly explained the situation, pointing to the elephant's injuries. "We need to move him immediately," one of the rangers said. The two approached the elephant cautiously, beginning to administer medicine to stabilize him. Meanwhile, Michelle remained alert, her gaze fixed on the savannah, ready to respond if another attack came. With the help of the rangers, the elephant was lifted and placed on a mobile platform. The journey to the recovery center began, but despite his exhaustion, the elephant seemed calmer. Michelle stayed next to him throughout the journey, speaking softly to reassure him. The other rangers followed closely, monitoring every move. The elephant would never forget that moment of salvation, and Michelle, hearing his calm breath, promised to always protect these magnificent beings. The elephant, though injured, seemed to recognize the presence of the men. He looked at them with eyes full of gratitude, as if he understood they were trying to help him. Michelle knelt beside him, placing a hand on his rough skin. "You're going to a safe place," she whispered. The elephant trumpeted weakly, as if he wanted to say something, then slowly lowered his head. There was no more fear in his eyes, only deep trust. With the help of the rangers, the elephant was lifted and placed on a mobile platform. The journey to the recovery center began, but despite his exhaustion, the elephant seemed calmer. Michelle stayed next to him throughout the journey, speaking softly to reassure him. The other rangers followed closely, monitoring every move. The elephant would never forget that moment of salvation, and Michelle, hearing his calm breath, promised to always protect these magnificent beings. In the following days, Michelle continued to visit the elephant every day, bringing him fruit and fresh water. His health slowly improved, but the scars remained. Despite the challenges, the elephant seemed increasingly peaceful. Michelle spoke to him, telling him stories about the savannah and what she was doing to protect it. The elephant seemed to listen, as if he understood every word. A special bond was forming between them, a bond that went beyond mere salvation. A month later, the elephant was ready to return to his natural home, the savannah. Michelle accompanied him to the area where she had found him, deep in the heart of the savannah. When the elephant saw his familiar environment, a loud, joyful trumpet echoed through the air. He paused for a moment, looking at Michelle as if to say goodbye. Then, with one last glance, he moved away toward the savannah. Michelle watched his path, knowing that the elephant would never forget his rescue. Michelle returned to her job, but the thought of the elephant never left her. Every time she walked through the savannah, she thought of that great animal and how it had been saved. Her mission as a ranger wasn't just to protect animals, but also to create a deep bond with them. Her work had purpose, and she had made a difference. The savannah still needed her, and Michelle would never back down. One day, while patrolling a remote area of the savannah, Michelle heard a familiar sound, a trumpet. Her heart raced. She turned around, and far between the trees, she saw a massive figure approaching. It was the elephant. He had returned. Michelle couldn't hold back a smile as the elephant looked at her with eyes full of gratitude. He stopped in front of her, as if wanting to thank her once again. Michelle knelt and stroked his head. The elephant stayed with Michelle for a while, as if wanting to express his gratitude. Then he turned and walked away, but this time he wasn't alone. He was accompanied by another elephant, probably a member of his family. Michelle watched them move away, content. Her heart was full of joy, knowing that the elephant was finally living in freedom, surrounded by the ones he loved. Michelle knew that her work as a ranger wasn't over. Every rescue, every life she managed to protect, helped maintain the balance of the wildlife in the savannah. And even though the elephant had moved on that day, Michelle was certain her mission would continue, always. The savannah still needed her, and she would always be there, ready to protect every creature that lived there.